The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Panarin's got it for the Blue Jackets. Down the left wing and across the line. Panarin trying to cut in. Scores! Game winner in overtime!
And Neal away with Haula. Tuck once the puck is on the left side. But in. Haula scores! Eric Haula says good night.
Big leagues, Nylander.
Side of the net. Matthews scores!
Anderson picks it up at the goal line. Throws it across the goal line. Here's Werenski off the point. Werenski looks for some open ice. Scores! Matt Calvert! Jackets go up 2-0 in this series. Matt Calvert as the Jackets jump off the bench. The Columbus Blue Jackets are headed back to Columbus, leading 2-0.
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Been an interesting first round, boys.
I mean, in a way, I think what I think is what's probably the interesting thing about it is that we only had one series where the other team won a game up until yesterday. through two games, every series was either 2-0, or 7 out of the 8 series were 2-0. Only one of them was 1.
I think that the two things.
I'm not having a good time. I'm just gonna.
Nope, Mike. This has not been fun. Why do we subscribe to this? Why do we deal with this?
Yeah, well,
Why do we want this?
I could not be a hockey. I could focus on the Blue Jays right now. I would be happy. I could. I'm completely with it. It's completely within my power to be happy, and yet I'm not.
So last week, how many of us thought that coming into this week's show, the only person with a team that had a 2-0 lead in the playoffs would be me?
No.
Okay, I didn't think the Jackets would be up 2-0, but I will say I did pick them to win.
And I got to say, it's been I don't even know how you describe it. I mean, they're up 2-0, but it never felt like they were
both are overtime games.
Yeah, they never felt like they were in control or anything like that. I can say that.
You don't actually need to be in control of a series to win it. Ask Anaheim with that win against Winnipeg a few years back, where they led for like a total of 7 minutes.
Yeah, after 3 games in that series, the Ducks had led the Jets for an entire 30 seconds. And they were up 3-0. So it's entirely possible to be in the situation you're in. I've seen it firsthand.
And yesterday's game, had you taken 10 fans out of the stands, given them all a bucket full of pucks, and had them throw them at Bobrovsky all at once, I don't know if he would have faced any more shots than he did in the regular game.
The shots on goal ended up being 58-30.
Right. That's what I mean. Just having people throw pucks at him from random angles would have been no different.
I'm going to say that unless something drastic happens, I think my fears that Bobrovsky would earn a reputation as a playoff choking goalie might be put to rest this year. Like if he could keep this up for at least this series, he will have proven that he can go in the playoffs.
Yeah, because here's the thing: his playoff save percentage was .892 coming into this, which is not good for playoff hockey at all. Not at all.
Well, in his defense, both those series were against Pittsburgh,
right?
You know, this is the great thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Sometimes you just get a hot goalie, right? Mm-hmm. And you can ride him for a round. Maybe you ride him for 2. If you're, look at the Mighty Ducks with J.S. Jaguar. They rode him all the way to Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final. The Oilers got to Game 7 of a final on Dwayne Rolison's back. The Kings, when they won their first cup, was on Jonathan Quick.
Rolison was so hot in those playoffs that if he had not gotten injured in Game 1 of that final, Edmonton probably would have won that series.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, hell, look at the Buffalo Sabres with Dominik Hasek those years. Mm-hmm. You just get the goalie is the great equalizer of a hockey game, and Bobrovsky is doing his thing right now for Columbus.
Yeah, but is he really?
I mean, he's stopping enough.
He stopped 4 out of 58 yesterday. Granted, but but he gave up. I want to say he gave up 4 again in game 1. Only faced 30 shots in that game. That's not so good.
Look. As someone who has played
the game.
I've played the game, therefore my opinion is superior to everyone else's.
Of course.
But no,
you played the game and you're Canadian, Mike.
Hey, I played.
Tell us how it's supposed to work.
I played goalie too, Mike. So spare me, okay? Come on, we're both goalies here. Let's go.
But Greg, he's a Canadian goalie.
I am. But okay. But my point is,
my one game of street hockey doesn't count as much as this Canadian ice hockey goalie experience.
No, the games of hockey that I played in my garage as an 8-year-old don't count.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
But the point that I'm getting at, is that if you are as a goalie playing hockey, you should not be getting nearly 60 shots a game like that.
No.
There is a fundamental failure of the team in front of you if you are facing 60 shots. And I'm going to say that if you face 58 shots and let 4 in, that's a pretty impressive show.
Well,
it balances out to letting in 1 goal a game on
say it would be like giving up 2 goals and facing 30 shots, which we would all find acceptable.
Right, and getting 60 shots against in a double overtime game like Jonathan Quick had the other day, that's not bad. That's fine. But I think the problem definitely is that's just over 68 minutes total, right? They didn't make it out of the first overtime in either of those 2 games.
Like I said, guys, if you had brought fans out with buckets of pucks and just thrown them at him, it wouldn't have looked any different. It would have been exactly the same. The defense just wasn't there. I mean, they were firing on him with impunity, basically. And I mean, yeah, he did great yesterday, but how long can you keep it up, Mike? And that's a good question for you. If you keep getting pelted like that, how long can you hang with it? I mean, is it just a matter of, I'm just going to keep.
How long can? Well, that depends. That is going to depend on a lot of things. Because here's what's really baffling is that hello?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Okay, so
Patrick Marleau just made $18 million. I'll just let you know.
Yeah, no, I've got it on silent.
Did he score? They're up 2-1 now. Wow, it was just 1-0. 5 minutes ago.
It's been crazy. I'm trying to keep my sanity through this. Anyway,
69th playoff goal. Nice.
I mean, I'm just happy that the Maple Leafs have held 2 leads in this series. I mean, that's nice. Yeah. But anyway, but we'll get to that later. But what's baffling about the Blue Jackets, especially in that game 2, is that, like I said, if you give up 60 shots a game, that usually represents a massive failing of the team in front of the goalie. But at the same time, they're giving up 60 shots a game, but they're also managing to score 5 goals.
Yeah,
which
here's a question.
It's kind of weird.
Basically, if they'd gotten even a little bit better defense, then you're winning those by 2 goals each.
Well, here's my question now. Okay, with the 60 goal, 58 shots yesterday, and I don't know how many of those came in overtime, but it was a lot of them came in regulation. Was it also a matter of Washington being like they even said during the game, this isn't an elimination game, but it's basically a must-win game for the Capitals, where they just came out and were way more aggressive than they normally would be because of the situation they were in?
I mean, maybe, but the fact is, with the talent that Washington has, if they're taking that many shots in a game, that they should be scoring. I guess here's the other failure for the Capitals on the other end of it. They scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about it going into the series where, Braden Holtby had faltered a little bit down the stretch, so they were going with Philip Grubauer, who was hot. Well, they started Grubauer in both those games, and he got lit up. And so now they're in the eternal position where they were always with Bruce Boudreau of, oh shit, well, what do we do with our goalie now?
Well,
we're going to start this guy. We're going to put him back in.
They put Holtby in for the third period. The third period in overtime.
I mean, that is always risky. It's the position of goaltender is a lot like the position of quarterback in football, where if you have 2 starting Goalies, you really don't have one.
Right.
You don't have one, right? And Grubauer did not. Like, I understand he had a strong end of the season, but I'm sorry, you can't. If the team in front of you scores 4 goals, it's on you if you lose. Like, that's just how it is. If the team in front of you can manage to get 4 past the other guy, then it's up to you to make sure you win that game. Because if your team scores 4 goals, you should win. That's how it should happen. It's like a team in the NFL who scores 42 points in a game but still loses. Something fucked up. Someone fucked up, right?
Well, and not only that, but in both games, the Jackets were down by 2 goals in both games. So it wasn't even. There was just a lot of things that. If you want to look at Washington's history of collapses in the playoffs, these first 2 games fit the narrative perfectly. Just they're right there with everything else they've ever done. I don't know if this is the end and they'll go out in the first round. I think it would be great. It would crack me up if my Blue Jackets knocked these guys out in the first round. But watching that, like Zach said, with the talent they have, and really, when you put up 58 shots with the guys they have, they should have scored more than 4. So you got to give Bobrovsky credit, and I do. I'm not blaming him, but I still haven't seen him. I mean, other than yesterday, where he's really wrenched it up to that extra gear where you go, okay, no. He's. It's like I was talking to my girlfriend of all people about it yesterday. There are guys you'd feel worse with in net than Bobrovsky. I mean, he's not like the worst choice you could make, but I'm not entirely confident in him, and that's not a knock. It's just. An .892 save percentage in the playoffs is what concerns me. Yeah. And he, but when a guy only gives up 4 goals on 58 shots, you can't complain too much.
Yeah. But the Jackets still are in the best position to be in at this point. Yeah. You won the first 2 games.
Yeah, on the road.
All you just need to win 2 out of the next 5.
Yep.
I mean, all you have to do is just split the remaining 2 games at home. You don't even have to win them out. Just split the remaining 2 games at home, and then you're up 3-1, and you're basically golden.
Right.
Yeah.
I really don't think that there's any way, based on the way this Capitals team just kind of is mentally. I don't think there's any way the Capitals come home anything better than 3-1.
Look, if the Game 3 is going to be huge, because if Columbus scores the first goal in Game 3, I think Ovi and most of the veteran core of that team is just going to go fuck it. Again, we just fuck it.
Because you got to know they are already. I mean, probably after Game 1, but especially after Game 2, they're already in that, oh my God, here we go again mode.
Yeah.
And
for them too, like when it comes to that sort of stuff, you think about the questions they have to get after the game, right? Mm-hmm. How many times have the Washington media have to ask the same questions to these guys?
Right.
How many times do these guys have to go into the locker room after a game like that?
Thank God Phil Kessel went to Pittsburgh and not Washington.
Yeah. Well, it's
not Ovi's fault, guys. Leave him alone.
Well, it's just like they would. What different answer can you provide at that point? Like, I'm sitting there. We'll get to the Ducks series, but it's the same thing where they're in this position again, and they keep asking these questions, and it's like, well, I've seen this answer before. I've seen they give the same answer they give every single damn time, and so the only way that the Capitals can prove that truly that they just got to move on to the next game, they just got to take it one game at a time, is if they do go into the next game and win. Like it's the simple matter is there's nothing that they can say or act or anything like that that'll change our minds except by doing it, And I think
that's a fine philosophy, and I think it would work with just about there's maybe 3 teams in the NHL that's just not going to fly with anymore. Washington, probably St. Louis, maybe to a lesser extent San Jose. Anybody else, you go, look, okay, we're down 2, but we win this one, we see what happens next. And you get into that mindset, I mean, granted, it was not Stanley Cup Playoffs, but I've been in like baseball playoffs and stuff where you're down and you go, okay, we just win today and we'll worry about tomorrow. But with the Capitals, they've got, my God, I read an article today. Yeah, I know, I saw. It's 2-2. An article today where it was just like this laundry list of collapses in the playoffs. And I don't care. Yeah, and a lot of the same guys aren't there anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But still, like you said, Zach, the media keeps it alive. They don't care that it was, Ole the goalie and Peter Bonder back in whenever that did all this. They don't give a shit about
it's the
all
media and the fans. Like the media and the fans don't change.
Right.
The players might cycle in and out, but we've said this before. Sometimes just a franchise gets a stink about them, and this is what you are. No matter what you do, this is what you are. And despite my bold outlook, in our playoff preview.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we
did you
warned
have
you.
them winning the East?
No, but see, this is what I said. I also said that they could do it. They also might not, but they could. And this is that they're not going to. Even if they get out of this, they're not getting by.
No, I was just gonna say that.
That series could be crazy too. The Pittsburgh Philly series, as they tend to be, but. I don't. Pittsburgh will still win out of that. I think at the end of it, and these Capitals aren't.
Pittsburgh,
despite maybe what I thought that they might be able to do, that maybe it's different. Maybe they can overcome it. Maybe Pittsburgh's tired. No, none of that matters. They're gonna go. The way it looks now is that Pittsburgh looks the same as they ever do. So do the Capitals. Capitals look the same as they ever were, and so now we're gonna go into the next round. Hopefully, it's the Blue Jackets. That'd be nice for them.
I don't want to play Pittsburgh again.
Well,
if the Capitals do manage to pull it out, this is the end of the road for them. They're not going any farther. And then what do you do? I don't know what you do with the Capitals besides, I don't know.
We discussed it, I think 3-4 straight years now. Do you blow it up? It's too good. You can't blow it up, right?
No. I would have blown it up 2 years ago, but I don't know.
I think at this point, if the Barry Trotz will be fired, I would assume. I would think maybe the GM goes. This is the second GM they've had to go through this nonsense too. I don't know.
What is the problem though? What is the problem? Why are they like this?
I don't know. Why are the Washington Nationals like this? Why are the St. Louis Blues like this?
The Blues are like this because they hate me.
Why was Cleveland like it was for so many years before the Caps? Sometimes it's inexplicable strings of bad luck. Ultimately,
yeah, but
right?
This one seems to be.
I don't know.
Reliable. I don't know what it is, but anyway. I'm not writing off the Caps yet because they're still a good hockey team. I think they're talent for talent. They're better than the Blue Jackets. But I will say this: if the Jackets take Game 3, this thing's over. I mean, that's it. It's done.
100%. Yeah. No, the Capitals aren't a team that can pull a reverse sweep. Not happening.
No, they're too mentally.
And you know
weak,
what?
For lack of a better term, if they go down 3-0, they're more likely to fold than rally.
And the thing I'm most excited about in this whole thing is I can't wait to see Nationwide Arena with that team coming home with a lead in a playoff series, which has never happened before. This is the very first time they've ever led in a playoff series. And I'm hoping that the
fifth line,
whatever they call it. But I really hope that they do a good job and are loud and, just show that, hey, Columbus maybe isn't such a bad market after all. But it should be very interesting because I never even had the lead. They've never had the lead in a series before. So this is pretty exciting. But it's just, I'd like to see those shots and goals come down a little bit though, guys. That would make me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another one.
Let's stay in the same division. We mentioned them, Pittsburgh. They looked like they were going to just run away with this thing after that first game, huh? 7-0.
Yeah.
Philly.
Didn't they win 5-1 yesterday?
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh wins the second one by a big score. This is, like most of these Pittsburgh Flyers series, they end up pretty crazy. This one's just pretty crazy in terms of blowouts. I think that the game 2 was a little bit of an anomaly. I don't think Philly's going to win the next one. I'd say Pittsburgh probably goes up 3-1 by the end of the game.
I do too. I mean, this puts me in the very unusual position of actually rooting for the Flyers because I don't want to play. If the Jackets win, I don't want to play the Penguins again.
Yeah,
but I don't. I mean, geez, man, was it 7-0 in the first game, and then I think 5-1 yesterday.
Yeah,
and I don't know what the score was in the game Philly won, but
5-1 too. Yeah,
was it?
It's weird. It's weird. Every game's been a blowout one way or another.
But I mean, I think the Flyers. I don't think the Flyers are as good as the Pens.
Oh, no.
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 And the Penguins showed, I think, that, people saying, oh, they're not gonna three-peat. They've got this is the weakest Penguins team we've seen in a while. They've proven that when playoff time comes around, they can get it done.
Well, when you're coming off your second straight cup, I don't care who you are, how motivated you try to be, you aren't going to get that fired up to play a slog of games through January and February. It's just not going to happen. So, they might look a little rough around the edges in the regular season because, let's be honest about it, their goal is get to the playoffs, with the best position they can get, and that's it. The rest of that is just complete. It's just stuff that you're just killing time. It's like basketball in that sense. You're just killing time to get there. So I don't know. I think that they're like the new Blackhawks or the old Penguins, whatever you want to call them, but. Until they're dead, I'm not going to believe they're dead. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, the Penguins are showing the exact same thing that we've said over the last couple of months when we've reluctantly talked about the NBA,
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, look at the Warriors. They're struggling. Yeah, because they don't care. As long, they could make it in the 8th seed as far as they are concerned.
And then probably just
make the playoffs
sweep their way to the finals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it – I mean, that's what it looks like we've had now here with Pittsburgh. I think when a team has won as much as they have, whether it is the Warriors, whether it is the Penguins, you're trying to look for holes. You're trying to say, no, well, this team can be beaten because of this, this, and this. But like you said, what does Pittsburgh care if they play, Anaheim in January or whatever? They don't care.
You want to stay healthy. Of course, you want to win, but
you want to make it. That's pretty much it.
You want to get there, and that's but it's not like. I mean, let's be honest about it. Okay, so the Pens don't. I don't know if they're not the number one seed in the East, are they?
No.
But okay, do any of us think that they really need home field or home ice advantage against the Flyers? Like they can't go to Philly and take one? I would not even worry about it. That's the thing.
No.
So they'll be fine. And like I said, they're dead when they're dead, and until then, I think you still got to look at them as a favorite, whether you like it or not.
I think by the looks of what we have, at the very least, are the favorites to make it to the Eastern Final out of that division. I would love to see your scrappy Blue Jackets make it, but we know the history. Could they make it to the Cup Final? I don't know. That's a whole nother month away of hockey.
Who, the Pens?
Yeah.
Well, they'd have, let's see, Lightning or
looks like Bruins.
Sorry, Mike. That's 2-2. I'm not ready to write out these Leafs yet either. I'm not.
I don't know. Those 2 games were pretty rough.
Were
not
they?
gonna lie. They were rough.
I was ready to not believe that Boston was as good as they were being pumped up to be, but I think they're just as good as everyone pumped them up to be. They're pretty damn deep. They're strong. They're fast. They have a scoring chemistry. They have a strong defense, and they're getting some good goaltending. So it's kind of, what do you want? They check every box at this point.
And two, I think with a young team like the Leafs, it's on its way up. At least it seems to me that you have that year like last year where they came out and they maybe were a year ahead of schedule, and then you get that kind of I think even the Blue Jackets had it to a much worse extent, obviously, but. Well, you have a little bit of a regression year, and that might be where the Leafs are right now. It's just one of those things, and they'll be back. Who knows? But I don't think they're done yet. I think if they can win tonight, then they're the team. They can get it in their head.
I don't think you can call this regression, though.
Not regression necessarily, but you know what I mean.
They set a franchise record for wins and points in a season.
I'm talking about the playoffs, though, not a regression. I don't know what regression is the wrong word.
Here's where I'm at right now, and maybe this is defeatist, maybe this is just shattered expectations, but the way I'm looking at it right now is that this team got completely stomped in the first 2 games, and it's looking like this is a close game. They've had 2 leads so far in this game, and maybe this falls apart again, but so far it's looking like they're proving this game that this Leafs team can hang with this Bruins team. And honestly, that's all I want at this point. I just want them to be able to go out there and say, hey, we can hang with a team of this depth and this caliber. We can go out there and we can be competitive, because they just weren't competitive in those first two games. And now they're looking like they are. And maybe a lot of that was because they came into these playoffs kind of high. You know, they had an impressive showing last year. They had a pretty damn good season this year, and they just kind of ran into a wall. Obviously, you would like to think that maybe losing 5-1 the first game would be enough to get their heads on straight, and maybe they wouldn't lose like 7-3 or 7-2 the next game. But it does seem like at least a bit that after two shellackings, they're at least ready to get down to business. And again, all I want out of this is for them to be able to prove that they can hang. And so far in Game 3 they have. So
yeah. And when it comes to being the Leafs or being the Capitals, I think you'd much rather be a team like the Leafs where you're down 0-2, but you're coming home, rather than losing the 2 at home and going on the road, and now you have to figure yourself out away from home.
And you don't have that history hanging over you.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
and they are a team that they can take it. They can go the one game at a time. We'll win tonight. We'll worry about tomorrow. And the next thing you know, I mean, I don't know if it will or not, but it's entirely possible that they're tied at 2 apiece, and you've got a brand new series. Who knows?
Oh, sure. I believe more in the Leafs' ability to come back in their series than I do Washington.
Look, this Leafs team has proven resilient all year. I've seen them hit, 3-4 game skids where they look bad, and then they gather themselves up and ring off like 7-8 in a row. This Leafs team has proven resilient, whereas I don't think there has been a resilient Capitals team since 1998. So, and I just wanted, and I don't mean to go back to the Capitals thing. I just wanted to point out that while it's true that it hasn't been the same team over the entire course of this whole experiment, we're still talking. I mean, we're still going back to 2012 in term, even further. 2006, 7, 8. It's been a while, but my point is that while there has been a significant amount of turnover in players, there's been management turnover, there's been coaching turnover. There has still been a core of players that have remained there, and I think that's ultimately the problem, because if you've got a core that has this stench on them, if you have this core that can't get over that hump, then it's not necessarily going to matter what pieces you change around them. The core is the core.
Kind of like the San Jose thing for all those years.
Yeah. And I think the big problem is that this Ovechkin-led core is just not going to get it done, and it's not even necessarily Ovechkin's fault. Although he does bear some responsibility, I think, for some of this, but certainly not all of it.
But there's that core of Ovechkin, Backstrom, Karlsson that just they've been there. They're still the team leaders at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And one of the other guys they brought in over the years was TJ Oshie. Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah, he's a good player who was part of plenty of St. Louis Blues collapses. Like, I don't know what you want there,
guys.
Let's bring in TJ Oshie, because he's,
like I want to see that meeting. Guys, we keep collapsing in the playoffs. What do? I know. We'll get some players from the St. Louis Blues. Wow, that'll fix it. It's comical, really, when you think about it. But
I think that, I don't know, I think we've talked about it every year since we've been doing the show, because this is what the Capitals do. And you either keep trying, which I just think you're getting diminishing returns every time. Because now, I mean, it used to be, okay, they have to get down a couple of games, and it got to be one game. Now it's like if they give up the first goal, everybody's like, oh, that's it, they're done.
I mean, look, for a while there, they were making it to the second round and losing to either the Rangers or the Penguins. Then last year, they had a scare against Toronto, and for a while, it looked like maybe they might not even make it to the second round. Now, they managed to pull through that, but maybe last year was just like the last gasp of the Capitals that could make it to the second round, and now we've hit the point where this completely just falls off the rails. And we'll get to this later, but you kind of look at how over the past 4 seasons or so, the Minnesota Wild have been getting decreasing returns each time they return to the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
now it might be that with the Capitals, right? Where, they flamed out in the second round for a few years in a row, but
Leafs score.
Woo!
3-2 Toronto. 5:13.
Austin Matthews.
Austin Matthews.
Austin 316.
Ooh, what a top shelf. That's beautiful.
I'm at the right now, where I'm expecting the Leafs to be facing elimination, so I can post that my go-to Leafs desperate situation GIF on the forums, which is Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder going, "Survive."
I so loved him in that movie. He was hysterical.
Look,
Sorry.
One dude playing another dude disguised as another dude.
Man, you can't go full retard. You went full retard. It is.
That movie is from the fake trailers at the beginning to the end credits. That movie is genius.
Yes, it is. Anyway.
But anyway, so the last series in the East is Tampa Bay, New Jersey, and
at the very least, you're going to have at least one blue and white team to root for in the second round.
Did you go to one of these games, Mike?
I went to game 2. Went to game 2. I had an opportunity to go to game 1, but the Leafs game was on at the same time, so I stayed home to watch the Leafs. But game 2 was in the afternoon, and then the Leafs game was on at night, so I swung that one. A few takeaways from seeing it in person. One, the Devils look like ass in their new uniforms. I've seen some people say, "Oh, now that I've seen them, they don't look so bad." No, they look fucking awful. It's a top-heavy design because you've got the black shoulders, you got the thick arm stripes, but then there's like nothing below the logo, and it just looks bad. And no, Zach, despite what you said, the glorious Kansas City Scout collars are not shining through.
No, come on.
I wasn't sitting
see it from up here.
I wasn't sitting
shining
there.
red.
I wasn't sitting in the third bowl going, well, I could see those blazing red Scouts collars from up here.
I'm inspired by a team that played there for 3 seasons. I don't know. How long do the Scouts exist? Not that long.
I want to say, I don't even know if it was 3, was it? Like 2 maybe?
They were in Colorado longer. I know that.
Really?
I'm pretty sure the Rockies' tenure eclipsed the Scouts' tenure. But yeah, it was not long. I'm going to say that similar to their Metropolitan Division brethren, the Capitals, I think the Devils started the wrong goalie. Like, look, I've been to a number of Lightning games this year, a few of them against the Devils in the regular season. And I can tell you, Schneider has been consistently good against the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. Like when the Devils play Schneider against the Lightning, he has dependable outings. And they went with this other guy for the first 2 games, and he got lit up. But
though they put in Schneider tonight, and Tampa Bay scored first.
Yeah.
So,
real quick for the record, guys, the Kansas City Scouts were in KC from 74 to 76.
Oh, so like 3 seasons.
Basically,
Two
or
seasons.
I think it's 74, 75, and then 75, 76. So I'm going to say 2 seasons.
Two seasons?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine if a team now moved after 2 years? Like, imagine if Vegas was so bad that they're like, "Oh, hey, Seattle, look at you. We moved you up the timeline."
See, here's the problem. Seattle's getting an expansion team, and so and the NHL has made it known that we apparently can't move any teams from the west to eastern locales because of their oh so precious alignment and the blood pact with the Red Wings. And so, what happens, right? I mean, because Phoenix is always, or Arizona is always on the precipice of failure.
Yeah.
And yeah, Vegas is doing well now, but again, we're talking about a market which doesn't exactly scream financially stable. Who the hell knows if the ownership group gets hit by an economic downturn that hampers their ability to continue to own the team. I'm just saying that Seattle was a nice safety valve for some of their potentially troublesome Western Conference teams that is now going away. So
we'll just we'll put a team in Oakland. we'll get 2 in the Bay Area. How about that?
Let's not go down this rabbit hole with the relocation thing again, because we'll be here all night. We've done it 100 times.
Oakland Black Panthers. Can we get that?
Let's get back to the actual hockey teams that actually exist at this point.
But the Devils are just they're not deep enough. No. Taylor Hall did enough to get him in the playoffs. Gold star for you, but it's just clear that Tampa's so much the better team, despite the Devils beating them up in the regular season, but not so much now.
I still maintain that they probably should have started Schneider from the start, because they're the guy they went with. Tampa Bay scored first tonight and they're starting Schneider, but we're not midway, but we're
in the second period. Yeah.
We're in the second period, and it's only a 1-0 game, whereas it was 4-1 Tampa by this point in game 2. So I still think Schneider is proving even now that he was the better choice to go with against this team, but. Alas, Devils, they don't have the depth, and it's showing.
It's cup time. Yeah.
Everything about the 90s in the NHL is fucking crazy. Even Gary Bettman awarding the Stanley Cup to Mark Messier is accomplished by Mark Messier giving a Bond villain laugh.
All right, shall we head to the West?
Sure.
Okay. First question, Zach. What's up with your Ducks?
Not so fun, is it, Zach? Not so fun.
Well, see, Mike, I have experience with this one because we've done this 3 times before in the last. This is now going to be the 4th, or this is the 4th time in 5 seasons the Ducks have lost 2 games at home to open up the series. Look, game 1 they just weren't there. It was a combination of not being aggressive enough, just some bad bounces where the puck's kind of out of your reach. And really, they were kind of even through the first period, and then the second period, San Jose ended up getting a 5-on-3, and once they scored, they just kept coming, and the Ducks looked completely lost. Game 2, they scored 20 seconds in, and it looked fine, and then just some miscues, and you're down 1, you're down 2. As much as I want to, find excuses for it, San Jose has just been better. Just flat out, San Jose has been the better team the first 2 games. There's some excuses to be made for the Ducks, but it's they've just been straight beaten by the Sharks in these first 2.
Are the Sharks the better team overall throughout the season too?
Well, the Ducks ended up passing them up in that last week of the season.
Oh, that's right.
So they had home ice, but I think had the Sharks not screwed up on the final couple days and secured home ice, then this would be a very different narrative, where the Sharks were the higher seeded team. They have home ice, and sure, if they're up 2-0, maybe they're supposed to be, and the Ducks are coming back home and they can right things up. But now you're in a situation where the Ducks eked by them on the last day. So maybe on the whole, the Sharks probably are the better team, or at least, this season. The other thing for the Ducks is that it's become apparent to me how much missing Cam Fowler really did hurt them. I expected it to obviously be a big hit, but when they're coming out of their own zone, they're having trouble just simply clearing the puck. And Cam Fowler just is a calming presence that can skate it out on his own and all that sort of thing. On the power play, they're completely lost without him. But at the same time, it's one of those things where if there's a couple plays here and there where the Ducks can capitalize on their opportunities, then they're closer in the game, or they take a lead, or something like that. So I think, despite being kind of downtrodden, because it's well, here we go again, this shit all over again, and I don't know if we can do this again. I think they can. I think that the Ducks are of the teams that are down 2-0 and going on the road. I think, well, there's only 2. I mean, Washington. I think the Ducks can still steal a couple in San Jose, definitely, and even this thing back up. Just, I don't know, man. this team doesn't exactly inspire me with the way they played in the first 2 games. And looking at the other side of the bracket, I don't think they're going to make it to, even if they make it out of this series, they're not going to make it out of the next round. I don't think.
I've got a question for you, Zach.
Sure.
Randy Carlyle, mistake or not?
Oh yeah. No, I don't mistake. I don't know. I don't know if I can call him a mistake necessarily. I think injuries have been this team's problem all season long. I think with the way the standings finished up, they finished up 8 points behind Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the Ducks were healthy all season, if Ryan Getzlaf played the entirety for the first half, Hampus Lindholm was there, even Sammy Vatanen got traded, if Fowler doesn't get hurt, if Gibson's healthy the entire year, I think that they win the division for a 6th consecutive season, and it's no big deal. They'd be the number 1 seed in the Pacific, and I think that they'd be in pretty good shape. But it's just been such a damn hard season. But at the same time, I am very much done with Randy Carlyle 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose this series, there's no. The only way that they would bring him back, and which is what I fear they might do, is that, well, they had is the same thing I just said, where it's like, well, they had all these injuries, and there's a free pass on this season. But I think even beyond the injuries, just the style of play doesn't work. Defensively, they give up way too many shots, and they seem to just have this innate ability to not get out of their own zone. Mm-hmm. They get trapped a lot, and they get bailed out by John Gibson. But there are times where the Sharks were just getting flurries of shots on goal. I don't know if it's a mistake, because I don't know if they'd be any better with somebody else, but and they were still pretty good last year. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but I am done with the second go around of it. He no matter what happens, I think he needs to be replaced one way or the other. He doesn't inspire me. And I think he's one of those things where he's still one of those coaches that kind of grinds down a team over the course of a year. And he just, I don't want to see him on the bench again next season.
Look, I'm just saying, I understand your pain. I've dealt with Randy Puck.
So have I. We did this once before.
I still love.
Season where they looked exactly like they did the last time he was here, and it was like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we messing with this again? But
I'll always have the gif of Randy Carlyle, working for the Maple Leafs, where he didn't understand how the team toaster worked.
Yeah. Yeah. But
a
toaster, you put bread in a toaster.
Yeah,
he's at some function the Maple Leafs are having, and he's in like a cafeteria, and he's like fiddling with the toaster. He just looks utterly lost trying to get this toaster to work. Also, it's 1-1 in the Devils Lightning series.
Yeah, Taylor Hall with a slapper.
Oh, I'm still at 1-0, but I'm watching on my iPad, so this is probably actually from like game 2 or something.
But I think no matter what happens between the Ducks or the Sharks, really, I think I'm ready to admit that I'm just not going to ever be right about Vegas. They're good. They're good. They come in waves. They're fast. They're aggressive. All the holes that I want to poke in them, the holes that I think should be there just simply aren't there. I have no explanations anymore.
Well, it's hard to.
They're fast, they're strong, they're good. That's pretty much it.
They're an expansion team, and it's hard to get your head around the idea that an expansion team put together with cast-offs from other teams, et cetera, could be this good. You just look at it and go, it can't be. There has to be something we're missing here. There has to be something wrong with this team, and maybe there's not. Maybe it's just the luckiest damn expansion team ever. Not lucky, but just put together correctly from day one, because they They were up 2-0. They had a game yesterday that they came back against the Kings, and they're up 3-0, and they look good. I don't know. I'm with you.
Yeah. They're fast and they're aggressive, and that's the only thing that I would be concerned about if I were them is that, you know, they're not scoring as much as they were in the regular season, but I think that's to be expected with any team that goes into the playoffs.
Right.
But on the other hand, the Kings aren't scoring either, and that's really the difference between the two things. The two teams through 3 games is the Kings just aren't putting together any offense. And you know why that's also pretty funny, because the team, remember, they employed an offensive coordinator before the season. They added an extra assistant coach to generate more offense, and look where that's getting them now. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I don't think it's going to happen this year. You know, the only way they're going to get beat is if they run into a better team, and I think that's not going to happen until they play Winnipeg or Nashville in the conference final.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna finish off LA. This is not a LA team that can pull off another reverse sweep. That's just not in the cards for them, I don't think. And I think that they were better than San Jose for most of the year, and I think that they could take San Jose again. That might be a tougher series, but they could beat San Jose. I think the ultimate Vegas collapse isn't going to happen this year. It's going to happen, you know, maybe next year or in the next couple of years when George McPhee really gets to tinker with the lineup. But because he just kind of put something together and said, here it is. And even remember the trade deadline move they made for Thomas Tatar, where they traded a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick. And we were just – I remember I was at least like, this is ridiculous. Why would you give up that much? You're an expansion team. You need assets. Well, Thomas Tatar was a healthy scratch in Game 3. So that's what I mean when it's kind of like you give George McPhee enough time, he's going to tinker with this team to make it kind of fall apart. But as it stands right now, with what they have, they're still a motivated group that plays like they're that the whole league has slighted them in some way, and here they are.
But you were right about that pregame thing they did. Dumbest thing I've ever seen. Did you see that, Mike?
No, I did not.
Oh my God.
Oh, Mike. So they did away with the Excalibur thing for the playoffs, but what they had this voiceover where it's like, it sounds like a voiceover from the Lord of the Rings, where there are combatants on the west and eastern fronts. They all fight for their destiny. Here in the west, Vegas, the Golden Knights have foes. Destiny fate has chosen their opponent.
Have you ever seen?
And it's like this. No, I'll find the link.
Have you ever seen, Mike, like those outdoor plays like the Mormons put on?
Yeah.
It looked like one of those.
Yeah, because after all this voiceover nonsense, they have the Black Knights emerge again.
That was embarrassing, I thought.
And then the Golden Knight comes. They actually have a sword fight this time, and it was completely medieval times on ice.
Oh, it was something.
Zach
posted the link of it, and he's like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen." I said, "I'm 12 seconds in, and I already agree with you. It was so bad."
This entire okay. How can I?
Got it.
Well, first I would say that I would say that all the games have been close. I don't think they've run away with any game yet against LA.
The Knights?
Yeah, the Knights.
Let's see here. I'll look it up for you real quick.
Have they run away with any of the games? No. No, it was I think it was 1-0.
3-1, something like that.
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah, and then they had the double overtime game. And then they were down 1-0 until they scored 2 goals 20 seconds apart in the third.
Yeah.
To go ahead.
Yeah, I was reading an article somewhere.
This opening is fucking atrocious.
This doesn't have the voiceover part though.
Oh, you got to have the voiceover part. That makes it poetry.
Let me see if I can find it.
I might be able to find it on my Facebook page. Hold on.
Oh, here we go. No, here I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, Mike. The opening part with the intro is just it's
I need
something.
to link to that so I can play it while we're God. It's so stupid.
Well, like this is the schlock about this team that is just like I cannot stand this team anymore. I cannot wait until they fucking fold, but that's the thing that bothers me so much is that it doesn't look like they're going to yet. They're just they're so annoying.
To set aside your dislike for them and stuff, I mean, they've had, without question, the greatest expansion season ever in the history of sports.
Yeah, something that'll never be matched.
And then, they're like, okay, well, that's fine, but, they're going to turn into a pumpkin at midnight come the playoffs. Except they've come out and they've taken a 3-zip lead. And I don't know. I thought they'd win the first series, and now I'm looking at San Jose or Anaheim as their next match. I think they can take that one, too.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, it might have to be Winnipeg or Nashville to take these guys out. And at that point, I don't care what happens. That's a successful season for these guys. Not that it hasn't been already, but at that point, there's no argument left other than saying, well, they didn't make it to the finals. Okay. They're an expansion team. I mean, they're really, to use a Vegas term here, they're playing on house money at this point. I mean, they've got nothing to lose, you know?
Yeah. By the way, the most Vegas thing I think that this team has done this season, Game 4, a lot of teams will have a watch party, right, in their home markets when the teams go on the road. The Vegas watch party will be at the Mandalay Bay pool. They're going to have a watch party at the Mandalay Bay pool on Tuesday night. So that'll be great. But yeah, I like I said, I keep waiting for this team to lose, and they're not going to do it until somebody actually beats them. They're not going to do it to themselves. They're not going to collapse in on themselves. They're structured. They're fast. They're aggressive. Yeah, I can't stand them anymore. I'm over the Vegas, how cute. Nope, I can't do it anymore. They're the worst. Like even to the fact of like I would actually rather the Kings have won this series.
Wow.
I never wish good things for the Kings. You know this.
Wow.
Like I after like a game or two, I was like, no, you know what? I can't sit here and watch this anymore. I need the Kings to like man up and show this expansion nonsense who's how things work around here. Because the fans are the other thing that's still getting to me. It's because they think this is all deserved, or that they earned this, that they deserve to be treated like this and to have a great team. And no,
they don't deserve. They don't deserve shit.
No,
I wish nothing but bad things for them.
It would be something if it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I can't believe that this is happening. We're still riding on cloud 9. This is great. That's not the attitude that they seem to have. They seem to have oh no, this was destined. No, we're a great hockey city, and we proved it, and we told you all that we deserved a team, and then we got a team, and now we're going to show you why we belong here, and we really do, and we're the greatest. Stop it.
Well, they then they put out that stupid pregame thing.
Yeah.
And made laughing sacks out of themselves. I'm sorry, that thing was just so stupid. It reminded me of like the Mormons when they recreate Joseph Smith finding the gold tablets on the hillside in New York State. It was just like, this is so bad.
Yeah.
All right.
But in the other division,
what's hold on a minute here. What's this thing with Nashville? What
do you mean?
Greg?
Nashville seems to have something cool going on here.
What are you talking about?
Oh, never mind. It's just that they dropped a screen down. It looked cooler than I thought it, or looked like it was going to be cooler than it actually is. Anyway, go ahead. Where were we?
Well, Nashville, yeah. They're up 2-0, but those games against Colorado much closer than I think anybody could have anticipated them being.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was going to be a straight up sweep, but I think Colorado could probably steal a game here in Denver. And if Nashville's not careful, they might just be able to take two, because really they were both 1-goal games until late.
Mm-hmm.
And for Colorado to even be kind of putting some scare into Nashville is something I didn't anticipate, despite the 2-0 lead.
Was it just last year that we were talking about Colorado being like one of the worst teams ever?
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but yeah, so they're...
I mean, there's that gif of them,
passing backwards on a breakaway.
Right.
Yeah, against the Jets, yeah. No, they were abysmal.
That was such a great play.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, I'm surprised that they're giving that much fight, but Nashville still is pretty damn good. And then Winnipeg, Minnesota. Winnipeg just destroyed Minnesota in those first couple games. Suffocating, they were strong, they were physical, everything that I expected Winnipeg to be. Props on Minnesota for coming back in that game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But I will say I assume Winnipeg was affected a little bit because of the horrendous winter that continues up in that part of the country.
It's always winter in Winnipeg,
Well, this was in Minnesota.
It's always winter in Minnesota too.
Right.
So.
Winnipeg couldn't. The Jets couldn't fly in the day before like they wanted to because of the snow, and they couldn't even like the day of the game. They couldn't fly into Minneapolis. So the day of the game, they had to fly into Duluth and take a bus from Duluth to St. Paul to end up playing the game that day.
That kind of sounds like some of those old stories you'd hear from like the Challenge Cup era, where it's like some team in Yukon got the right to challenge Ottawa for the Cup, and so they'd have to take like a dog sled and 5 trains just to get there.
So I'll wipe that one away for Winnipeg and say that that's the game that Minnesota is going to get in that series. But the Jets look every much the part that.
Well, wait a minute now.
This is a picture of Winnipeg in the winter, by the way.
So the Jets have actually won the playoff game now that we were waiting for, right?
They've won 2.
Yes, they've won 2.
Yeah,
they've won 200% more playoff
Tomorrow
games.
The world, boys. Tomorrow the world.
They have eclipsed their accomplishments from Atlanta. So,
but you see what I mean? So this is with Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. They didn't even get an expansion team. They got a relocated team, right? Mm-hmm. A team that already had players on it. Yeah. And it took them, God, when did they move?
Oh.
It's
2000.
It was a while ago, wasn't it?
I want to say 2011.
Yeah, I was going to say 10, but 11 sounds right.
It would have been, yeah, I want to say 11. Hang on.
2011. 2011,
yeah.
You're right.
All right. Because I remember it was around, I remember it was the same year that Boston won the Cup, so yeah.
So Winnipeg moves or gets the Thrashers in 2011. 7 seasons, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just winning a playoff game. Mm-hmm. And that's a great accomplishment. See that, Vegas? That's how it's
supposed to go. You're supposed to suffer for the better part of a decade before you have the joy of success. You spoiled schmucks.
Yeah, or if you want to look at like the expansion version of it, look at Columbus. We were horrible forever. You don't just walk out and be great all of a sudden.
Like, I guess the other one that jumps out to mind when it comes to quick success in terms of expansion teams would have been Minnesota. They came in 2000. Yeah. And then in 2003, they made a run to the Western Conference Final to play the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
Really that quick?
Yeah.
Wow.
But and so that's pretty quick. Same with say the Florida Panthers, right? They went to the Stanley Cup Final in like their second or third year.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. John Van Beesbrook.
Their must have been their third year because they came in the same year as the Ducks, and that was the 96 final. But that was something where it's like, okay, you have a team, you might suck for a year, but you still have to build towards it. You don't just get it and say, oh, we have the best team in the league? Cool. Like, no. That's not how it worked. That's not how it's worked for anybody else. And really, I would have to think that every other GM in the league must be furious at the Golden Knights. Right?
I'm
furious at the league for putting in the rules that have let the Golden Knights be as good as they are.
I'm curious to see what the owners think about the idea that Seattle is going to get the same terms because
right. No, they are.
They are?
Seattle demanded it because not only are they coming in, they're paying more than Vegas did to get a team now.
Because
so Seattle's saying, like, if you're going to have us pay more, like, you've got to give us the same expansion terms.
See, because in the NFL, when the Jaguars and the Panthers came in, they had pretty quick success too, and it pissed everybody off. So when the Browns' turn came around, they took away all of that, and we've seen the results for the last 18 years or whatever it's been. But yeah. I thought that they would do that with hockey too. They'd say, okay, we've got to.
Well, they originally weren't. They originally weren't going to give Seattle the same expansion terms, but because they had the gall to charge them a couple $100 million more for the expansion fee, then Seattle demanded terms because, if you're paying more than Vegas to get a team, they want the same benefits.
Well, so what do you think at this point, guys? Can these guys, we're going to get past Los Angeles. They're probably going to get past San Jose or Anaheim. Are they good enough to knock out Nashville or Winnipeg?
I don't think so. I think by the time you get to that point of a playoff run, I think the bigger, stronger, experienced teams like Winnipeg or even Nashville when it comes to experience, those are the teams that are going to beat them. And I think that's the way to beat Vegas. The Kings are trying it where they're trying to be physical with them, but they're just not good enough talent wise to put a couple in when they could, because again, these games have been tight. But the Kings don't have the offensive talent to take advantage of opportunities presented to them that maybe Vegas has put in front of them. And maybe San Jose or Anaheim has a little bit more depth to be able to capitalize on it. But I think they're still playing too strong right now. But I think a team like Winnipeg, a team like Nashville, yeah, that's as far as they would go. If I had to look at it, taking away my bias of the expansion, teams and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to on the ice, I think the way that's the team that would be able to beat a team that's playing the way that they are right now is to stand them up, to slow them down, to knock them over a couple times and really take the game to them.
Yeah. I will say I like their jerseys better. Last night was the first time I'd actually watched them play. And I like their uniforms better on the ice than I did, say, in pictures and stuff. They look pretty good. So. Yeah. And then we got go ahead.
No, that's it.
And then Winnipeg and Minnesota, which
we talked about.
Did we get to Nashville?
We talked about Nashville, Colorado.
I guess we're done then.
Yeah.
We have covered the National Hockey League. Well, okay. Obviously, outside of your own teams, which I got to think are a bit disappointing. Are you guys that surprised that Vegas is able to do this with the Kings?
Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it's 3-0. If Vegas was gonna put together, if Vegas was gonna be leading after 3 games, I'd say at best it'd be 2-1. But to have them be up 3-0 and playing, and not just 3-0, playing the way that they are, because they are playing fast, they are playing aggressive. It hasn't skipped a beat for them at all. They're playing better than I saw them play at any point in the regular season, I think, which is just amazing to me.
Look. What was the last team to pull off a reverse sweep?
It was the Kings.
I don't see that happening here.
Fuck Vegas. I'm saying fuck Vegas for the entirety of their existence from now until whenever it mercifully ends. And I'm going to be unapologetic about that. Fuck Vegas.
But on the other hand, trying to take my fandom out of it at this point, this is the best possible result for the league and for this expansion team.
Absolutely.
No matter what it was.
Absolutely.
Because the problem we always had was that we were waiting for if they suck for a couple of years and the Raiders are going to come in and steal their thunder. This is the sort of thing that really builds a fan base, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you get them hooked early, you make it fun, you make it exciting, you make it entertaining, and you're going to hook a lot of people onto you for a good long time. And so when the Raiders show up in what is it, 2 years, 3 years?
I think so.
The Golden Knights will have a couple of years under their belts of good fandom, and maybe by then the bloom will come off the rose and they will go and start sucking. But they'll still have people with Golden Knights merchandise. They'll have people with Golden Knights experiences. They'll have the whole thing kind of locked in where they're going to be part of that sporting cultural fabric in Las Vegas, and
yeah, it won't be.
They'll make something of it.
They won't be just some goofy thing that you want to do until the Raiders got there. At that point, they'll have established a fan base, and that's good. You know, I still think putting a team in Vegas was a very bad idea, but if they're going to be there, at least make them successful. You know, it's good for the league, and as much as we like to complain about the league needs success, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I see again when it comes to the league. You know, on Wednesday we'll get our games on the Golf Channel. The Golden Knights haven't even had to experience playing on the Golf Channel or on CNBC. All their games have been on NBCSN. You know, they don't have to deal with the bullshit this league can throw at you sometimes. They haven't been indoctrinated into the God. What is the full acronym? OITH NHL.
Yeah, only in the goddamn NHL.
Yeah, OITGD NHL. They haven't been initiated into that part of being an American hockey fan quite yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that I'm talking about. Is like when you look at the thread on the boards, or you think of the conversations that we've had together on the boards with Admiral, with anybody that's involved in the NHL in our community, there is very much a weird vibe to it that Vegas hasn't had to go through. This weird, like, this fucking league. No, everything has gone right for them, where it's like, oh yeah, this is great. I see nothing wrong with the National Hockey League. Like,
it's like, no, you don't. You don't you don't understand. It's not like it's terrible.
Just it's not like this. This is not how this works. Like, as I said in the preview, the NHL is pain and misery and ridicule, and it's not a fun place to be sometimes. But damn it, we're all in this together, and they don't have the same shared experiences that we all do quite yet, because they just think that this is great, this is amazing. How could anyone have any problems with what's going on? It's like,
well, you know what, Vegas?
You're part of the problem.
Well, you know what, Vegas? One, you're part of the problem. Two, wait until you go through your first lockout and you actually have a stake in how that goes, and then after you miss half a season, imagine how pissed off you'll see when you go to the T-Mobile Center and see "Thank you, fans" plastered on the ice. All right, then you'll understand some of this.
Yeah. They are getting that's the
stuff I mean. You know,
they are getting a very soft landing introduction to the league and to fandom at this point. It's been very, very easy for them.
Yeah, at a certain point, something will happen. We'll be like, well, what the hell is this bullshit? And we'll be this is the NHL. Welcome.
Go into the playoffs, you know, with looking at it going, there is no hope that my team, okay, yes, they've made the playoffs, but there's no hope they're going to win this series. None. Zero zilch. That's it. It's not going to happen. They've never had to do that.
You've never had to, you've never gone into the playoffs knowing that your team is going to lose, and the only thing that keeps you watching from game to game is some misguided sense of hope that somehow it doesn't, like, you pull. No, okay, and you've never had to deal with, like, the puck bouncing the wrong way. You've never had to deal with your team needing a goal and having scoring chance after scoring chance and having none of it go in, only for the other team to get a lucky break and score.
Yeah, and I'm not talking like this with my Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm talking like back with the Rangers, too. I mean, it's not just the Jackets here I'm talking about. It's like, you know, in the late 90s, I mean, oh, come on. And then watching that team just, like, throw good money after bad for every fucking washed-up hack from Eric Lindros to Jaromir Jagr to just, like, we'll just get all the big names and throw them together and be terrible. You haven't experienced any of that either. Yeah. It's none of it.
No, like, during the double overtime game, like, I saw some of that going on Twitter where it's like, oh, the playoff hockey is so amazing. It's like, no, this is agony. You don't know what a double or triple overtime game really feels like.
It is not fun.
It is misery. It's awful.
It's awesome.
Until you win the game.
It's awesome as long as your team's not in it.
Every time the other team gets, like, a zone entry, you have a mini heart attack.
Yes, you do.
And, like, even in the double overtime game they played, they dominated the Kings. They outshot them, like, 18-8. And it wasn't even like that the Kings threatened all that much. It was just, they kept coming because this is what they do and everything's amazing. And it's just, well, how haven't we won by now? It's like, no. No. You should be fearing for your lives.
No,
you
overtime.
Ungrateful pricks.
Yeah, like Mike said, it's like every time that the other team comes into your zone, you're like, oh my God. It's just.
Look, I'm going to look. I've said before, I'm going to die 5 years earlier than I would have because of that Toronto-Washington series last season. like I've just accepted that took 5 years off of my life.
Well, that was one of the Toronto-Boston series. That must have been good for 15, I would think, right?
Oh, that one? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've never had a fucking 3-1 lead in a Game 7 with 5 minutes left and then losing in overtime. So fuck you, Vegas.
Honestly, a reverse sweep is what they deserve, but it's not going to happen.
Look, no, you deserve – no, you know what? You know what, Vegas? You deserve to make to the Western Conference Finals and get reverse swept by Winnipeg. And then when the game and have to go home in Winnipeg. And I don't care if it's going to be May. It'll still be snowing because it's Winnipeg.
I hope a Vegas
it's always winter in Winnipeg.
I hope a Vegas game gets upstaged by the Preakness and they have to watch the end of it on, Bravo.
Right after what's that fucking guy that does the financial shows on CNBC? Right after, what's that? The modeling shows they do on Bravo. I can't even think of the names of them anymore. Like runway, something.
Project Runway.
Right after Project Runway, NHL playoff hockey, please.
You've never had to see your team lose to the Devils twice in a row. Then 2 years in a row, losing to the fucking Trap.
Yeah.
God.
Good point.
I hate hockey.
So let's go.
It's a beautiful game.
It really is,
guys.
I loved every minute of it until my team was in overtime yesterday, and then it was misery. It's just abject fucking misery. I don't care what anybody says. And then I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about the Jackets Caps game from yesterday. Was he offsides or not? Did you guys see the replay? I thought he was.
The referees deemed him not. Right?
I don't know. I would have called it the other way.
They reviewed it.
I know. And it was very close. Very close.
I can't. Hey, they even review it. It is what it is.
But to give Vegas an idea, okay, so here I've got my team. They've just scored what looks to be the game-winning goal that will put them up 2-0, taking the first 2 games on the road against the top seed in the Eastern Conference, right?
No, the Met.
In the division.
Excuse me. Okay, so the top seed in the division. We're up 2-0. No one's expecting to be here. And then what happens? Oh, my God. Well, he might have been offside. So now you got to sit through, 5, 8, 10 excruciating minutes of replays where one angle you go, nope, we're going to be okay. The next one you go, no, no. And then you start thinking, no way they're going to let this goal stand in Washington. In Columbus, they let it go, but not here. No way they're taking it away. So they haven't even done anything like that yet, so spare me. I'm with you guys. I hate them now, too. Fuck them.
Good, Ray. Good. Let the hate flow through you.
And well, it's true. They haven't had to do any of that.
A lot. And in their small defense, they haven't had the time to have those sort of experiences. Fine. Great. And that would be the argument that they would probably give to us. But here's the thing. You're supposed to have the rough years. Everything's been I would give them that they haven't had the time to experience it yet if they were bad or if they were middle of the road. But the fact that they've been so good is the thing that really just kind of sets me off. Like, no, this is not how this works. That's why it's unfair, man. It sucks.
All right, gentlemen, it's time to reveal the champion in the 2018 Glorious Tournament of Victory. As I told you guys throughout the week when I opened the voting for this championship match, every single time I checked the score, it was tied. I have not checked the score since Saturday. All I know is the total number of responses we have, and that's it.
What's the total number?
44.
Oh, so we could still, in theory, have a tie.
We could be tied again.
It's an even number.
You know what happens if it's tied, Greg?
Oh, no, we can't do that.
Greg, you're the vice president in this situation.
I guess I am.
Yeah, because it is between. I was going to say it was going to be up to the three of us to vote, but you and I would both vote our ways, so it would be up to Greg one way or the other.
Great. This is exactly where I want to be with this thing. It has been.
Look, I got to say, like, before we even get into any sort of result, this has been the greatest version of this tournament we've done.
Yes.
This has been fantastic from start to finish.
It's always been fun creating new things every year, and that's part of the thing that made this great was what could we come up with that was going to be so ridiculous or so strange or just this beautiful combination of crap that would lead us to some sort of strange victory that we look for. But I think having all these entries that people had even just a little bit of history with to have some sort of rooting interest has made this just that much more interesting. This has been a great idea. It's not something we can go right back to.
No,
I don't think. But it's definitely been a great, just an unmatchable tournament. Again, except no substitutes. The glorious tournament of victory. One of the greatest things that we've ever done.
Well, what's at stake here at this point, of course, is the champion in the quarter qual match of the glorious tournament of victory. It will either be Cosmic Turtle or it will be the Sacred Moose Leg of Flin Flon, Manitoba. Also at stake here, Mike could become our second repeat winner.
True.
Zach being the only one. Or Zach could win an unprecedented third-time champion.
Yeah.
So that's what's at stake here. It's just been an epic battle that, and I'm not exaggerating. Every single time I looked, it was tied, and I thought I'm not going to look anymore because it's just too much. So here we are, a total of 44 responses, and all you got to do is open and find out. Except I think Toronto just scored a goal.
Yeah, Patrick Marleau making his money.
Well, there you go. There's 18 million well spent.
Money.
Okay, does that bode well for Mike in the glorious tournament of victory?
It's one less thing to be like pants-shittingly nervous about.
Hold on. Did Patrick Marleau just score 2 goals in a playoff game?
Look, see, this is what I'm saying when, like, sometimes you have a toxic core, right? Look what happens with Patrick Marleau in the playoffs when you take him away from Joe Thornton. Good things happen. Good things.
How much time's left?
3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
I told you they were going to score 2 more, Mike. They still got an empty netter to go yet. Okay, so back to the tournament. Mm-hmm. I'm going to open the results now. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. Now, the nice thing is that we'll analyze the results, but I still will not see who won.
Okay.
All right, so now I have it. Okay, 44 total responses. I will tell you this, it was not a tie.
Okay.
We do have a clear, distinct winner.
Okay.
In this, the most epic battle of the glorious tournament of victory championship.
This has to be, I can't think of a more epic final.
I'm actually nervous.
Me too.
These are made-up things, but they're... I have no stake in the game, but I am nervous for the winner of this thing.
Well, I think I don't know if you guys saw the post that our friend of the show Wild Wing put up, but it was such a well-written post explaining the whole thing, the whole matchup. I said if it were up to me, I would end the tournament right now, declare it a draw, and that would be that. End voting. But we can't do that. I will give you this: the final score in this epic match, 26-18. So it did have, while tied early, someone did pull away at the end. Any final predictions before I reveal this year's champion in the quarter quell of the glorious tournament of victory?
What more is there to say? It's been an excellent tournament. It's been an excellent final. It's been epic.
Zach, any thoughts before we reveal the score in this championship battle?
I just, like I said, it's been the greatest tournament we've had. No matter who wins, they would have definitely earned it. And best of luck to you, Mike, and to the Moose Leg, and to everybody.
Best of luck to you too, Zach.
Best of luck to everyone.
So as I stated before, we will either have our second back-to-back champion or our first 3-time champion in this match. The final score in in the 2018 Glorious Tournament of Victory championship match from the Orson Bean Arena in Smuggler's Notch, Vermont. The Cosmic Turtle, 26.
Wow.
The Sacred Moose Leg, 18. Cosmic Turtle takes it.
Oh, man.
Your champion. Mike becomes our second back-to-back title winner. After a drought of, 4 tournaments where he hadn't won one, he's now won the last 2.
Woo!
Yes.
Oh, God.
I don't know what made it pull out towards the end like that because it was dead tight, but I guess the Turtle just a little too much for the Moose Leg, but what a battle. And I know that's such a cliche to say this, but this is truly a case where it was a shame someone had to lose this match.
Zach, after this tournament, I want to shake your hand.
Yes, through the computer, just a good handshake.
in the spirit of the NHL playoffs.
I can't say that I'm not disappointed. I thought the Moose Leg was gonna take on a life of its own. It did several times. I made it one step farther than it did in previous year. But if it's gonna go down to something, I mean, there's nothing bigger than the Cosmic Turtle to go down to, and just a hefty foe.
Yes, tough to beat.
Cosmic Turtle avenging its loss to Teddy Roosevelt astride a war orca, the eventual champion. Those many years ago, it has returned to claim the Glorious Tournament of Victory Championship.
That is correct. Once again, folks, the final score. The Cosmic Turtle, number 13 seed from the Sentinel Prime Memorial Region of Excellence, 26. Wow. And the Sacred Moose Leg of Flin Flon, Manitoba from the goddamn Batman region, Memorial Region, number 2 seed, 18. There you have it. The champion, Cosmic Turtle for 2018. What will happen in next year's tournament? It can only go up from here. And with that, we got anything else, boys?
I do have one quick question for you, Greg. Is the collective conscience of Cleveland okay? The Cavaliers losing to the Pacers in Game 1?
Oh, I don't give a shit. What do I care? I'm watching hockey.
We could talk about some because there is stuff to discuss.
Well, to give you an idea where I'm at, I didn't even know they had started.
Yeah, the only 2 lower seeds won in Game 1. It was the Pacers over the Cavs and the Pelicans over the Blazers.
This is what I have to say
although we've got the Miami Heat, they're currently leading the 76ers. If you want to talk about that.
And Mike, as always, you the North.
We the North.
The only thing I want to say about Cleveland basketball this year is that I hope that everybody keeps their collective minds together when LeBron leaves again, because he's going to leave again this year. Probably headed to L.A. And let's act like we've been there before. You got your championship, shut up, and let's just...
You know what? If LeBron leaves, I want the jerseys that are burnt to be the land jerseys. If you're going to burn a jersey in anger, Cleveland,
yeah, you know what?
Burn the land jersey.
Even if he stays, burn him anyway. But yeah, we can talk a little NBA playoffs next week if you guys want to.
I mean, assuming that Golden State hasn't just swept the Spurs by then.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. The NBA first round will probably be done by the time we talk next.
So on that note, we're going to call it a night, folks. You know the routine. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube, and you can find us on Facebook. Congratulations again to the 2018 Glorious Tournament of Victory champion, the Cosmic Turtle. Mike, congratulations on your back-to-back shot here, and we'll see you next time.
Later, everyone.
Adios.